everyone, it's me, Cricket Chick. I am showing you a video tonight of the little boxes that I've been making. I made the last two as the baby shower ones for the two girls at my office. Took them to work and they loved them, so it was wonderful. They really enjoyed it. So anyways, I have my Halloween one though that I'm going to show you as my demonstration anyways. They're the same, so just different pictures. So we can get started now. I know that I posted the directions to this box, but they're a little bit, well, directions are always confusing to me, and I know that they are for some others too. So I'm going to just kind of go through the different steps and show you. I've already cut out pieces of the paper that go in here, but if I just walk you through at least the boxes, I think it's going to be very helpful. So anyways, we'll get started now. It says here on the bottom what you're going to need as supplies, and you need one piece of regular just cardstock. And this is completely up to your own imagination. These are just suggestions to make the boxes how we've been making them, but you can use a design paper, use whatever you want. It's completely up to you. But as the directions are on here anyways, it says one base cardstock. So this will be just the base color, which is basically, if you look at the example, it will be the orange. So it's just the base of the box, the base color. Then it tells you on the next direction to use two contrast cardstock. So 2 pages of contrasting cardstock. So you'll need a contrasting color, and what I chose on this one was the green to go against the orange. And you actually need 2 sheets of that because you're going to cover the front side of the paper, and then you're going to also cover the back side of the paper. So you're going to need 2 sheets, so kind of like a little sandwich. Then it's telling you that you need 3 sheets of patterned paper, and of course that's going to be the 3 different types of patterns that are on here. I have the stripes where I put my images, and again, totally your preference, but I like to use stripes or dots, things that I don't have to think too much about. And so there's those, and on this one I chose skulls on one of my pieces of cardstock, and then these little circles here for my other one. So these are my 3 different colors of the pattern paper. And then it says here that you need 2 yards of ribbon. Cut them into 7-inch pieces. Again, I don't even usually cut my ribbon. I just tie it on there, see where it's going to go before I even cut it off the spool, just to make sure it's long enough. Sometimes I like them longer, sometimes I like them shorter, and it's again completely up to you and what you want to do. So anyways, that's what it's telling you to do. So my first piece of paper that I have here will be my base cardstock. And what it tells you to do is to score this cardstock at 4 inches. So you're going to make 9 squares out of this cardstock. And what I usually do is I usually take my paper, and since I don't like measuring, 4 and then 8, I just will go, to 4 inches here, and then I'll score it. And then I'll turn it around and do another 4 inches from here. Since we know that it's 12 inches, you're going to have your 3 rows. So then I do 4 inches here. You can do 4 and then 8, and that'll give you 3 rows of 4. And then you're going to turn your paper this way, and you're going to do exactly the same thing, 4 inches and then another 4 inches. So you're going to end up with 9 squares altogether after you've done your scoring. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to take the scoring just one little step further, and you're also going to score these corners. And in the directions, it'll show you right here where the corner pieces are scored. So here's our first set, pulled the paper out, we've got the 9 squares, and now we're going to score the little corner squares. And so hopefully you can see this, but I've got the corners here are all scored as well. So we have 9 squares and 4 corners that are scored. Now we go on to the next step, which is this one here, and it's shading them green. It just kind of gives you an image you know what section you're on and what you're looking at here. And we're saying A is the green spaces. What it's telling you here now is to take your contrasting cardstock, which in my case I have chosen this brown to be my base, and then in my case I chose this type of a mustard color to go as my contrasting cardstock against my brown, which I think is really, really pretty. And now what it's telling you to do is to actually cut that contrasting cardstock into 18 squares. These squares are going to be 3 3/4 inches in size. So you're just going to cut your whole sheet of paper, and actually you're going to cut this, but remember when we scored this, we scored it at 4 inches and we got 9 squares out of it. So you're not going to get any more than 9 squares even by cutting this at 3 3/4. So that's why you need 2 sheets, because you need to have 18. You have to have the ones that'll cover the front, and then you need another sheet to cover the back side. So you'll cut this in 3 3/4 squares, the whole sheet. That'll give you 9. And then you'll take your second sheet of contrasting cardstock and you're going to do the same thing with that. Cut it 3 3/4, so you're going to have 18 squares altogether. What the next step is that on your base cardstock, you've scored these corners. Well, if you have one of your squares that you've cut out here, you can't really, I mean, I guess you could, but it would be silly. You can't really just cover this square when you already have it scored. So what it tells you to do then is to cut in half 8 of your squares, because you're going to need to cover the 4 corners on each side, which is 8, and you're going to need to cut them in half so you can put the triangular pieces here on the triangles when you're gluing them on. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what this means here on the directions. It's showing you all the green squares here and all the green squares here. So you're actually going to cover each one of these squares with your contrasting cardstock. I hope this is all making sense. So basically at this point we now have our sheet of base cardstock, and the base cardstock with our 9 squares, plus we've scored everything here on the corners. And then when you take the pieces that you've cut out, which I've already done, you'll put those, you're going to glue these in place. And since I also cut my corner pieces already, you'll get a better idea here what I'm talking about. See, now I can put my corner pieces where they belong, right on the opposite side of those scored areas. So that's basically how you're going to do this. You're going to glue it all down and put them all in the right places here. Now you're going to do this actually on both sides of your sheet here. So you're going to have it all completely finished. Now the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to take now, which is letter B here, and B is actually telling you that you're going to be covering these 4 squares. If you can see where the yellow is, it's telling you the 4 center squares. So here, 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 and here on both sides. You're going to then take your coordinating paper cardstock, and for me, because that's the place where you're going to stick your images, I use the again, totally your preference, but I use the stripes, and then I would place my images on top of the stripes. So I know that I'm going to put my striped pieces or whatever I've chosen to put my images on there. And in this case, yes, it just happens to be that I've chosen stripes. I like my stripes to go up and down. It's totally up to you again. So I'm using this one as my contrast here to go against that. So here we are. Now we have all of our pieces, and these of course are going to be all glued down into place. And so we have that. And again, both sides of the paper is what you're going to do. And now we move on to the next section. And again, see how the diagram has 2? That just means the front side and the back side. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. Now we move down to the corner pieces. And what it's telling you to do is to take your 2 different the 2 leftover pattern papers, and you're going to cut 4 squares out of the first pattern paper at 3.5 inches, and then out of the second pattern paper you're going to cut 4 squares at another 3.5 inches. Then what you're going to do is take all 8 of those squares and you're going to cut them all in half. So then you're going to have 16 halves. So you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, and then the other side is 8 also. So then you're going to end up with 16 halves. And again, looking at your pattern paper here, or the pictures, it's showing you that these are the C and D's are going to go in the corners. It goes as far as to tell you which side of the triangle to stick your pieces of paper. So for instance, on this one here, it's telling you that letter C, so your C is going to go here. Let me just get my paper. I've cut my pieces out already. These are my other 2 patterned pieces that I chose to go with this. So it's telling you, and I can choose I'll use this one as C and this one as D. So where all my C's go on my direction is where I'm going to lay my C pieces. So it's telling that the C goes here and here, here, and then here. So that's all my C's. And then, again, these will go on the other side. And then now my D pieces will go on here. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again, the rest of these are going to go on the other side. So you can see how it's all pretty much coming together now. And we have everything in place. One thing that the directions do not tell you to do, but what I like to do, is on the directions, it says nowhere, sorry about that if I bumped the camera, on the directions here, it does not say anything about this center square. And I don't like the center square just being plain. It's okay, it's just I think for more reinforcement I like to add another piece of paper on there, but it's, again, it's completely a preference to whoever's making it. I like to add one of my 3 pattern papers here. Since I have the 4 here, I just usually choose one of the other ones. And for this particular one, I did go ahead and choose this little checkered one just to go in the middle. You're not really going to see it. This one's for the other side. You won't really see it. It's going to go down here on the bottom, and then it also goes on the inside of the little, sorry, I have ribbons in there. It also goes down on the inside. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can, but on the inside and the bottom, you can see how everything all on the inside is all decorated. So that's where everything goes in there. So this is how it's going to end up being. It's just going to lay just like this. So you're going to glue everything down on one side, you glue everything on the other side, and then at that point I can show you how to do the rest. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and I'll be right back.